It's probably late afternoon in Udeput, and he approaches the temple of the Chakraborty, which I think by now is surrounded by scaffolding, lots of like new there's the big like sign outside, the big like glowing electric sign, and then there's like a strange sort of mixture of like the sort of thing where there's an old building that's being renovated with like new hardware, new technologies, and so on. But it's like they're doing that, but through the process of trying to get this together, it's a mixture of we can't source all the things that are actually requested by the plans.
Right.
So we're going to just sit around and wait for like more supplies to show
Yes,
up, maybe.
same. I know this very well.
And during that process, during this process, one of the clients keeps changing their minds and demanding that changes be rolled back. Yes.
Yeah.
So, yes. It's that sort of energy, I think. Yeah, and then I think he kind of like enters the hall. And what do you think like the congregation normally looks like? Like, do you think it's like you entered the temple and there's like now a big congregation just milling around, or is it still kind of like the way it used to be, where it was mostly just the Chakraborty family, and every now and then maybe in some distant side hall or something there's like something happening?
I suppose there are regular lectures, right? Or semi-regular, and it would make sense then that like this day, there is a scheduled lecture, and Bidrohi knows about this, which is why he's showing up today. Right? And so there's more people than usual. I mean, I don't think it's like after all, like the Chakraborty religion isn't the major faith. Like it's not the main faith in Udvasha, or even particularly big, right? It's not. I don't think there's a whole lot of people, but there's definitely more people than usual, right? And they're all there. I don't think they're just milling about. You can see that. I think like there's quite a few people gathered around. I guess the podium, or where like a raised chair, wherever Abbas is lecturing from, and there would be a few people sort of in the back, but people are mostly listening. Like yeah, some people could be lounging, listening more casually, others more attentively.
Okay. I have two questions for you then. How do you think it manifests that the avatar of the god has been kind of rejected? Like, how is this sort of like... Was there any sort of sign that the serpent has been rejected by the Chakrabortis, or is it like something that happened behind the curtain and there's no actual sign of this? Yeah, like, is there any evidence
sign?
that like... Is it like, has something changed in the makeup of the temple that might tell us? That might reflect the defeat of the serpent.
I'm not sure, but I was going to say that maybe Abbas's lecture would touch on this topic, because I think it's not like because this the serpent was not shy to come out in public, right? Eventually, people would be like, "So, where's the avatar of the god?"
Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Snake? Yes. But, yeah, so I think Abbas is probably touched on this before in lectures, and I think this lecture might be about that as well. And in fact, why don't we, as Bidrohi comes into the temple, maybe that's like...
Does he start by saying something about how, the high priest is once again busy and can't make it?
Zadishan? Oh no, that's, yeah. Yes.
As he begins his lecture, does Abbas mention anything about the absence of the high priest once again?
I don't think we need to talk about that. I think people have sort of just got... I mean, it's been some time, hasn't it, since... Yeah. I think people know by this point that something's happened to the avatar, and they've more or less got used to the fact that Miraz is not usually there. Yeah. But I'm sure they've hand-waved it with things like, oh yeah, the high priest, he's got his thing. He only shows up for, when his attention is absolutely required.
Yeah. I'm imagining that Abbas does these lectures then with a sort of like mixture of like, he pretends that this is a huge burden, that he has to do this, despite the fact that this is clearly what he wants to be doing instead, and this is the best arrangement for everyone involved.
I think so. Yeah, like you can see Abbas at the end of the room. He's he's standing on the sort of raised platform, and we will say that he doesn't have any material prepared because I don't have any material prepared, and he's just lecturing on the. And yeah, I think maybe you can hear him go something like, "So everyone, today I want to end my lecture by talking about the nature of time. Time. Do you believe that we create our future, or do you think we simply discover it? Yes. How do we picture time?"
Does he wait for any
And
response, or does he just like move forward?
of course, he doesn't wait for a response. Of course, he doesn't wait for a response. This is a rhetorical question. Maybe some people start to speak, and he just talks over them.
He's gonna. I think the only I like to imagine him using a microphone, because even though he hates Sparkcraft technology, he would not say no to a microphone.
Of course not. So yeah, you can hear like echoing, like his voice is echoing. There's not many people. He doesn't need to use
But he has
this.
it.
So he has it. Yeah. Yeah. So how do we imagine time? And then he steps aside, and behind him, maybe you can see the sign of the Ouroboros, and maybe here you can see some physical change. Like it's kind of unraveling a little bit, and he'll go on to explain that, say, we used to picture time as this snake eating its own tail, a cycle of destruction and growth at the same time. And for us, this meant change. We can see it. The snake erases the past and creates the future. But when we think of time like this, look at it. The snake never changes its path. The cycle of creation is always the same, and we can get trapped just like this in our thinking. And indeed, the avatar of this temple was trapped. So certain it was about its own existence, its own place in this world, that it forgot that it too needed to change. But in this temple, we took control of time in our own hands. And by doing so, we were able to start anew. See now how the snake unravels. See now how the course of time changes. And this is what I want you all to remember. We create our own future. Even something as fundamental to our experience as time itself, we can change the nature of it. So, keep this in mind when you leave. In your daily lives, in all your endeavors, it is in your hands.
Bidrohi in the background starts clapping. I assume that's the signal for a general applause.
I don't think this is the kind of place where people generally applause. I think it's more, murmuring, and Lavaz just goes, "Oh yes, yes, thank you." In the back, he puts the mic down. He climbs down from the platform, and I suppose there are gonna be people who have questions, like, people come up to him. So I guess at the end of the university lecture, where students they have questions, right? If he approaches, he'll see Abbas, going, yes, that's about that, and okay, wait, everyone, hang on, one at a time.
And I think Abbasi is politely standing in the back of all this crowd, like letting everyone else go first. Is a young man wearing a flower crown and a very loud waistcoat.
So the waistcoat and the flower crown will obviously get Abbas's attention. Does Bidrohi look like Ramu? He must a little bit, right?
Is that something he would pick up on? I think there's a strong resemblance.
No, I don't think he would pick up on it, like, and he go, "Oh well, this is clearly related to Ramu." But I think there might be some slight hint of recognition where he's like, "Have I maybe that's what pushes up us to approach Bidrohi first, and I think he might go something like, and are you new to this faith? I don't think I've seen you here before.
No, yes, Pandit sir. It is my first time. First time here in this temple of yours. Very interesting lecture. If you have a moment of your time afterwards, I would love to sit and pick your brain about it a little bit. I have some questions, some quandaries.
Yeah, yes, of course, yes. Yeah, just give me a minute. Let me just take care of all this. But I think Abbas then gestures to one of the side rooms, right? And sure, definitely, it's a old temple, goes deep into the cliffs. And says, yeah, sit down and I'll arrange for some cha, some snacks. Yeah, and so who would bring in the tea? Yeah.
There's probably
Anyway,
new
it doesn't matter.
acolytes and so on.
Yeah, Abbas and yeah. So maybe Victoria goes and sits at one of the inner rooms. In fact, we said that there was a dining room that was like near the front, and so it's fairly spacious. It's I think like one side was just open to the outside, letting in lots of light, air. Yeah, and if it's late afternoon, then it must be very nice. Shafts of light come in through the arches.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
I think Bidrohi, thanks Abbas profusely for his time for 5 minutes, and then says, "It is. I don't really know where to begin." And I think Bidrohi, if obviously Abbas doesn't know him, but if the viewer were to see him, they'd see that Bidrohi is looking really hard at Abbas and also kind of avoiding his gaze, and he's sounding more nervous than usual.
Right.
And I think he doesn't have his sword or anything with him, but I think he does have concealed weapons, just in case, right? So I think he's sitting there, and there's a sort of lull in conversation between the pleasantries, and Bidrohi doesn't come to his point about why he's here.
Okay, I think that Abbas just says, "Oh no, don't worry. I mean, if especially if this is your first time here, I mean, the nature of time and what I'm saying about unraveling time itself, it'll take some time to get used to it, of course. And there is a lot of history that has happened in this temple, so don't worry. Just if I'm more than happy to teach a young man about all the peculiarities of our faith."
The questions that you were exploring, what is the word? They're very metaphysical, no?
Yeah, that is the. I suppose that is a word. Yes.
But they also have a practical implication. They also have practical applications, right? I would say, when you talk about the change, right? The change that your temple undertook, which, by the way, I heard about it, and it's wow, confronting your changing your religion like that, meeting the serpent and all that. Those are some hats off to you. I mean, I don't have a hat. Hold on. Maybe this will do. He takes his flower crown off, and then he puts it back on. Sorry. Yes, getting carried. What was I saying? Yes. Even though what you were talking about is really interesting, but from this metaphysical angle, I am really interested in this, in the actual acting of change, as you were mentioning. That's what something I'm struggling with, my people, my friends and I.
And I think Abbas is actually he's a bit amused by Bidrohi taking the flower crown off like that, but I think Abbas is quite enjoying this because here's someone who's very enthusiastically listening to what he has to say. And he goes, "Oh yes, of course. Indeed, what is the point of faith? What is the point of believing in change? What is the point in contemplating the nature of time and change if you're not willing to act it out in your life? This is this temple has always been about us, about people, about community, and the the message of this temple. And I will not lie. It's a message that sometimes we have forgotten. In fact, how could we not? If the Avatar itself can forget, in your own life, you must, you mu there will be change. You must not be afraid of it. You must accept it, and you must act so that the change is the change that you want. And that is exactly what I meant. You must take control of the wheel of time, steer it.
You used to be as before you were a priest, you were like a political person, right? You were like, and then he leans close. You were the Viper, right?
Oh, yes. I think Abbas is not. I don't think he's too surprised, but he is, I guess, just slightly more wary of where's this question coming from. Because I think he knows that like it's kind of out there. But clearly nothing has happened in all this time, right? If something was gonna happen, it would have happened by now. And he goes, "Oh, yes, curious question. Why do you ask?"
Just trying to think about this question of change because, what were you? Okay, like maybe I should. Would you like me to lay out my context first, or like, proceed with the question as I was thinking?
I was a Viper, yes, and I then, and even now, I have tried to enact change, but even in my methods, I have tried to change. But as for your context, yes, maybe that would help me answer your question better.
Okay. Well, no point beating around the bush, right? So even though I have the Uduashan accent, like you can tell, like working class Uduashan accent and all that, my family are Ketrisi. I was born in Ketrisi, but not raised there. I left very early on. You, of course, know, I think, quite a lot about Ketrisi history. I mean, he just kind of like leaves that dangling. Because we know that Abbas is like an Uduashan, right? He's like very, like, he loves Uduasha, but like, I don't know if he's the
Yeah.
kind of person who takes an interest in wider Uruvia or sees it as backwards.
Oh no, I think he does. And in fact, in season one, we did say that he is like, and in fact, that was one of the points of disagreement I think between him and the fire speakers is that he wanted like a more, I guess, like a broader approach. Like for us, the main point was Takarosi are invaders. They are, like Uduashi is taking the brunt of it. But as far as he knew, as in his personal experience, Uduashi was taking the brunt of it, and it was about protecting like the community or his way of life. But I think being an academic, he would also have learned or heard or even gone and seen the same things happening elsewhere. So I think he is, and I think in season one when when the temple went to Ketrisi, well, Abbas was like, and he was saying that of course we need to help them. They're in the same hole that we're in.
Yeah. So this question is a test on to Abbas to see if he's like the fire speakers, or if he's different.
I see. Yeah, I think when Bidrohi says that he is Ketrisi, I think Abbas was a bit wary, but I think he now becomes more, yes, a bit more concerned because not concerned by, I guess he's he's more like intrigued. He goes, "Oh, from Ketris, yes. How are your people settling in? I have to apologize. I haven't really been able to check in after we made the deal with what's the name of that idiot lawyer, Ardil. Yes. I trust, there hasn't been too much trouble after that. Is that why you're here?
Yes, Hardil. I met him once. Kicked his ass.
No, I'm not surprised. His ass was very easy to kick.
And I think like Bidrohi is like kind of I think he's trying to warm to Abbas, right? And then he says, I mean, I know that there's been some like tensions between this temple and the Kethrisi community. Like there was that whole thing with that guy Ramu, right? Like we all heard about that. And I don't know, man. I think the people of Kethris are not doing well. Here in the hospitality ghetto, we are not doing well. And from what I'm hearing from home, things are going from bad to worse, man. And like, this is the thing. You are talking about change, right? You're talking about change and how we need to enact it. And I think it's really interesting the thing you're saying about like how the beliefs of your temple, they used to be like, we just spin around in circles and over again, and what is the point of making some sort of change, right? Because like every time there's like people down in the dirt getting their balls kicked in, there's someone saying, oh no, if we help them, if we elevate them, if we save their lives, then sooner or later they're just going to buy some big boots and then push the person who was kicking them down onto the ground and start kicking his balls instead. That sort of cyclical theory of history, right? But like, you're talking about something different, right? You're talking about like, we don't have to go round and round in circles, snake chasing its own tail, everyone just trying to kick each other in the balls, right? This is like, do you see the symbolism? There's the circle, and then I'm talking about balls. Oh wow, okay, that wasn't even intentional. Okay, I think maybe there's something here. Maybe you can like anyway.
Yeah, Abbas takes a moment to digest all of this, and because there's a lot here, right? He's thinking of the thing with Ramu. I think he's also saddened to hear that like the Kethrisi have not been doing well since he last checked in. I think that's been some time, and yeah, he thought okay about the cyclic nature of people kicking each other with large boots. He was like, yes, it's you're right. That's a very apt interpretation of what I said. Indeed, Uduvasha is a city that has been, well, I was going to say since the Kurusi arrived, but in truth, even before then. A city where the people at the top kicked those below them, and they in turn kicked those below them, and it's been like that ever since. In my youth, I believed the way to stop those kicking down was to kick right back up. Tell me, young man, what is it that you want?
I killed 2 people so far, and
I think Abbas is listening. Like, okay, go on. I don't think just hearing you've killed 2 people is that surprising.
I killed 2 people so far, and I mean they both deserved it. One, I guess, more than the other, sort of. I mean, it was like an honorable duel or something, but like she died as ugly as anyone else, right? Second guy, I mean, was definitely asking for it, aggressive guy, and all that. I did it all for my people, that sort of thing. But like, when you die, you don't come back. Like, especially in our city. I mean, I've heard that in like Akoros and so on, or like, well, even outside these walls, right? When we are away from the Udu, the spirit lingers, right? But like here, especially in the poorer areas, you're gone by the time your eyes close, right? And like, even though they both deserved it, like that's a person who's no longer here, and I did that. I know that maybe it's awkward for you to be talking about this with someone who's Kethrisi, right? But like, I know that you have also killed, right? And that you did it to protect your people and your home, right? And I guess what I'm just thinking about is like, when you kill someone, and this is not a personal thing. I'm just speaking in general. You have your reasons, right? I don't know what's happening in your mind, Ponditji, but like, you kill someone for the right reasons. I kill 2 people for the right reasons, and maybe there's going to be more people who are going to be dying in the coming times for the right reasons. Like, is this just like, I don't want to be like someone who is trying to kick the people beneath me just so that I can get on top of them, I don't want to be I want to be the person who's kicking the people trying to kick us from above, right? But is that correct? Is what I'm wondering. Like, is that just the cycle, or is it like something new? Like, is violence an answer at all? Do you have answers to this, or is this something you're also thinking about?
I think Abbas, yeah, he's got a more, like, I guess Abbas is saying to this, his face is getting more and more serious. He's a bit more grave, and yeah, he's thinking about this because I think Abbas, he's had a long career in revolutionary politics, and I think I think many people have suffered by his hand. I think Abbas looks at him, and there's a sort of sadness there as well, as he says, "I wish I could tell you that through means of diplomacy, kindness, you could enact change in this world. But I've been here for a very long time, young man, and I have seen that someone always wields violence. So the question is, who should wield violence? Not whether violence will exist, because it always will, but who will wield it, and for what reason? You said that you did it to protect your people for the right reasons. Well, in this city, this is what you must be prepared to do, right? If someone pulls a knife, you will pull a firebomb. When they send one of yours to the infirmary, you will send one of theirs to the bees. That's the Irovian way.
I think he thinks about this for a moment and then says, it's just that, I try not to hurt people, right? Like, I think sometimes the people I'm with, they sometimes I think they make fun of me a little bit because, I always try to talk to people, try to show them that, we don't have to draw these swords and all that. But it's always a sword, right? I mean, sword is for one thing, as I have said many times. So, like, if we are people with swords, then the sword is for one thing, and if we are good at using the sword, then, like, when it comes the time to use the sword, we have to use the sword. But sometimes I wonder, is this just us justifying who we are, right? Like, okay, I am a man who knows how to use a sword. And thus I tell myself, because I know how to use a sword, then I should use the sword in situations where the sword must come in. But then, do I not lock myself out of a situation where, even though every instinct in my body is telling me I should pick up that sword and like cut this motherfucker down, right? Maybe I don't know what else I could be doing. Maybe there's something else out there that I could learn, or maybe I am the one who deserves to be cut down, right? And sword is such a thing, right? Where if I make the wrong choice, if I don't cut him down, if I let him have, if I try to reason with him, if I lower my sword, then it's possible that I will die.
No, I think Abbas goes, this is the sad reality. No one here will wait for you to make up your mind, Bidrohi. And I think you can see, like, there is a sort of sadness in Abbas, because there's like Bidrohi, like, a young man, he's talking about all these things, and, like, Abbas can sympathize, but I think the talk of protecting people and all that has also sort of brought out a bit of the latent anger, that drove Abbas to do this in the first place, right? And he goes, the fact that you're here asking me these questions, I think, is already a good thing. And you must always ask yourself that question, and you must. Why am I doing this? Because I always told myself that this is why I was doing it. When I planted a bomb somewhere for one of the accuracy supply trains to blow it up. I knew people were going to die, and some people maybe needed supplies that were on their train and they would not get it. People would suffer. But I told myself, and I think I was always honest, that I'm doing it for the right thing, to protect my people, my city, my country. But I knew, even as we were doing this, there were some people, and even in me, there was perverse pleasure. And I fought always not to give in to that. This is not an easy path. It will test you over and over, but while a sword can cut people down, a sword can also defend. And your people, if your people need you, Bidrohi, your people need young men like you who are willing to put themselves on the line to defend themselves, because no one else will here. There is no justice except that what you can take for yourself. There is no protection except that which you can give yourself. Right? You will always be in danger here. There will always be those from above kicking down. And you will need your sword to cut off the boot that does it.
Did you do this train bombing because you thought it would be sick as shit? Are you familiar with this phrasing?
I've heard some of the younger acolytes here say it, yes, and I think there's a slight smile on, like not a smile, like there's this, like, and you can kind of see the corners of his lips a little, going up a little bit, and he just goes, "The train, when I blew it up, don't underestimate the importance of a symbolic victory."
He says, "Don't be subtle to the man wearing a flower crown and a loud waistcoat."
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Bidrohi says, one thing this is making me reflect on, and I won't take up more of your time, Panditji. Been very helpful. One thing that's making me reflect is that when we do our act of violence, when we change the circle of time to create something new, it's never possible to imagine the other life that could have been had, right? Like, the sword stroke comes at you, and you have to either, slash before. You have to do it. You have to do the act, because, like, as soon as you do the act, though, the possibility of not doing it is closed off forever, right? Like, and I'm being, I don't know, like, this is such a pretentious phrasing, I guess I'm doing, but what I just am trying to say is, like, you never know if it's the thing that you're doing is, like, right or not, because you never get to see, like, what the other life could have been, right? Like, you never know if this revolution was actually good, because you have to live with the world after the revolution. You never know if killing this person was good, because you have to live with the world after this person's dead. You have to live with, the blood on your sword. And I wondered then if, like, what is that? It's this accuracy word, isn't this? Like I heard it recently. Nihilism, right? What I mean is, like, when we imagine the circle of history repeating over and over again, the boot theory, right? That's a sort of, like, that is nihilism, right? Because there's no point in changing. But, like, if you do decide to make the change, then you're also in this situation where you never know if this was right, because you don't know what else could have happened. How do you escape this? And he's like, he's got his hands out and he's, like, trying to think about it to say exactly what it is. But then he says, how do you ever escape from knowing if doing something or not is good? How do you do? How can we do anything?
Okay, then ask yourself this. Could you ever not act? Would you ever not pick up your sword when you see that your family, your friends, your people are in danger? Could you ever not do it? I said that in theory, I said that we were creating our own future. Unfortunately, we are creating our own future in the dark. We can't ever know. That is fine. You can only do what you can do, no more. Sounds obvious, but this is who we are after all.
That's true.
But speaking as someone who has been charting his or creating his future for longer than you have, I can tell you that I only regret one thing. Right? And that is all of the people that I left behind, all of the people I could not save, the comrades who died by my side, my friends whose businesses I could not save. That is all. I've only ever regretted not acting.
I suppose maybe then I'm thinking that we have to make sure that the choices we make let people keep on making choices. You know?
Well put.
Thank you. It just came to me.
Very well put indeed. Ah, well, I'm glad you came to my temple today, young man. You've also, I think, given me, you've also made me think about this quite a lot more so than many people who've been coming and going for years. I hope you'll be back.
I think I probably will, yes. But if I don't, I hope you don't mind.
I think Abbas makes like a face where he won't mind, but he'll. I guess it's like I guess he'd be somewhat a bit upset if he doesn't turn up again, and he maybe at this point goes, yes, well, well, think about it. I think you have a lot to offer to this line of thinking. Oh, what is your name, by the way? I forgot to even ask.
Bidrohi Ankhatam.
Bidrohi Ankhatam. Bidrohi Ankhatam. Yes, Ankhatam. Yeah, I've heard of some Ankhatams in the Ketrisi. I think Abbas would have definitely heard of Saida, right? Not related to Saida Ankhatam?
You know what? I'm not entirely sure if I am. But she is my ustad.
Yes. A controversial scholar, but well respected among those trying to create change.
She is also doing things because they're sick as shit.
As good a reason as any, I suppose.
I think so too. She's only recently been my ustad.
Well, maybe some of it is rubbing off on you, huh? A very well-spoken, very introspective young man. I hope you keep at it, keep thinking. It is hard. I know you will doubt yourself, and sometimes those doubts are not unfounded. So you have to be honest with yourself always. Why are you doing what you're doing? But I enjoyed talking to you today. I think you are a man on the right path.
That really does mean a lot to me. Really, Panditji. I'm not really used to making my own decisions, you see. My previous ustad, he didn't like it when I did my own thing. He really, really didn't like it. And now Saida Auntie is a good ustad, but also very forceful. And it's good to hear from you, to have this endorsement from you. Because I wonder all the time if this thing that I'm doing is right. Thank you.
I think Abbas will just sort of pat you on the shoulder a bit, like yeah, like
yeah. Man time. Just two men.
Yeah.
Okay. I think when Abbas touches him, Bidrohi. I don't know if Abbas. I assume. Okay, I think if Abbas was, I think Abbas would be a very different person if he would notice this. But Bidrohi stiffens.
No, I don't think Abbas notices at all. He's just like, yeah, oh, stiff. Like, oh yeah, look at the muscles.
But then I think he forces himself to relax, and I think he gives, I don't know, sort of like something like a namaskar, I guess, to Abbas, and then he says, "I'll let myself out." Right?
Yeah. And the offer stands. Come to the temple anytime.